What's up, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Time Sports. I'm your host, Kimberly Cruz, and with me today we have analysts Johnny Ariano, Jacqueline Davis, Corey Johnson, and Mariah Ross. On this episode of Time Sports, the 2020 NFL schedule has been released, and we're letting you know which games are must-see on TV. Plus, quarterback Cam Newton is still a free agent, and we'll tell you which team should sign the former NFL MVP. But first, let's begin with some Time basketball with Jackson Rowe. Rowe signed a deal to play in France's Jeep Elite Pro A League. In his final year at Cal State Fullerton, Rowe led the team, averaging over 15 points and over 7 rebounds. For his career, the Toronto native ranks second all-time in rebounds and is the second time to rack up over 1,000 points, over 660 rebounds, and over 160 assists. But let's talk some football. Last week, the NFL released the 2020 schedule. The season kicks off with a one-week matchup between the Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs on September 10th. What are some games you guys are looking forward to watching this upcoming season?
Yeah, so I actually went to this game last season, the San Francisco 49ers at the New Orleans Saints. It's coming up week 10. I think that the rematch is going to be just as good as the first showing. And I mean, when you think of the NFC, these are two teams that are at or near the top, and it's undeniable at this point. And they weren't really hurt in the draft, during the offseason. If anything, Garoppolo is going to get the opportunity to learn more, be a more well-rounded quarterback. They still have George Kittle. They still have all of their their running backs. And, they still have that powerhouse defense. So I think that they're still strong on all fronts. And for the Saints, they finally have that number 2 wide receiver in Emmanuel Sanders that they haven't had in quite a few seasons. So I think it's going to give Michael Thomas the opportunity to make some more moves, and it's going to give Drew Brees the opportunity to open up the offense.
The Chiefs at Ravens, week 3, Monday Night Football. Who's not going to watch that game? I mean, you have Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. Those offenses speak for themselves. It's going to be less defense, all offense. It's going to be a great game to watch. Last season, they did play. It was 33-28, Chiefs coming out on top. In my opinion, I think the Ravens should have taken it all the way to the AFC title game. They didn't, but this year, they very well can. So we might get 2 matchups this season, especially with Brady going to the NFC. But nonetheless, week 3, early season game, but with 2 star power offenses, should be great.
I have one really, really, really big major game that I'm really looking forward to, which has to be week 4, and it's the LA Chargers versus Buccaneers. Buccaneers obviously have Tom Brady now, and so I think that's a huge turn of events, especially if they're going to play the Chargers, because the Chargers don't have Phillip Rivers anymore. And Phillip Rivers has been a part of the Chargers for the past 14, 15 years. So it's the fact that Phillip Rivers is not on that team anymore, it's going to be a really big change, especially with Tom Brady coming in, because Tom Brady coming in, especially to the team, the Buccaneers, who ever would have imagined that Tom Brady, one of his last seasons, go to the Buccaneers of all teams. So I think that is going to be a major game to watch.
All right. Some really good picks there. Week number 6 is going to be Green Bay going up against San Fran, rematch of the NFC championship game. Really thought the Packers were going to go on and go to the Super Bowl and face off against Mahomes, but just missed out. And I think that this year is going to be a big-time year for Aaron Rodgers. The Packers went and drafted Jordan Love. They're really out here trying to test this man's patience. But I just think that Green Bay, this might be one of their last final chances to potentially get to a Super Bowl this year. So facing off against San Francisco in a big-time matchup about midway through the season or so, I think that's going to be a real tough test for them. But I think San Fran is definitely going to be amped up. They want to get back to the Super Bowl, and they want to rewrite history and go ahead and go and get that Super Bowl this year.
Definitely lots and lots of games to look forward to this season. But let's move on and discuss the future of Mr. Cam Newton. The former Auburn Tiger spent 9 seasons with the Carolina Panthers before he was ultimately released March 24th. According to NFL insider Ian Rappaport, Newton is open to the idea of accepting the backup role with the next team he signs with. Which team do you guys think should sign Cam Newton? And is he still a starting quarterback in the NFL?
He's definitely still a capable starting quarterback, in my opinion. But at the same time, there's a lot of question marks when it comes to Cam Newton. You just have to look at this man's health, and he just hasn't been able to stay healthy as of recent years. That shoulder, that knee, are they going to be ready to go? Not too sure. Then you also have to ask yourself, is he willing to take a pay cut? Because you have to factor in late in the game, late on, the draft has gone by, free agency period has pretty much gone by. You gotta, pretty much think to yourself, not a lot of teams are going to be out there dealing off like long-term contracts. So he's probably going to have to be like Andy Dalton. Maybe he takes a 1-year deal at a team that he could maybe shine and show his talents at. And who knows, maybe he could have the Ryan Tannehill effect and bring back and revive his career. But I think the team that nobody is really talking about should sign Cam Newton is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger is not getting any younger. He's currently in the twilight of his career. He's injured way too often. That man needs to go. And looking at Kyle Rudolph and what he did last year, not impressed whatsoever. The offense for the Steelers were absolutely atrocious. Somehow they still finished 8-8, and that was thanks to their defense. They already have a top-tier defense. So I'm not saying Cam Newton, if you sign him, is going to immediately bring the offense up to the same level as your defense, but he can definitely help you out. And he's a dual threat quarterback. He can still get it done with his arm. He averages like around 60% completion percentage. So he can be accurate as long as you provide him with help around him, and as long as you make him comfortable and don't allow him to take so many hits. I think Cam Newton would be a pretty good, solid signing on a 1-year deal for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Corey. I definitely think that health is a question, but at the end of the day, there's quarterbacks in this league that are starting and throw the same amount of interceptions as they do touchdowns. So when you consider that and the fact that in 2018, Cam was having a season that was on par with his 2015 MVP season, I mean, he definitely at least deserves the opportunity to prove that he's still a starting quarterback. And agreed. I think that the Steelers would be a really great option for him. Mike Tomlin is an awesome coach. I think a lot of credit for what they were able to do last season is to Tomlin. But I also think that he could do really well with the Chargers. I know that they picked up a quarterback in the draft, first round. They also have Tyrod Taylor, but it's really a low risk option for them. You know, you aren't going to get an option that's better. I mean, when you think about their quarterback room and how large it is, the worst thing that could happen is they bring Cam in and it doesn't work out. They have so many people that they could fall back on, you know? And I think that Tyrod Taylor he's a good quarterback. He's a good option, but who has a higher ceiling at the end of the day? So I think it would be a good option for Cam to have all of those weapons that the Chargers have to offer. And then also for the Chargers, it's a low risk option. And again, if it works out, it could really work out, you know?
See, I think that the Chargers would be a good idea too. Like, I agree, like, right with Corey, you have to consider all of his injuries in his past, but at the end of the day, he still might be in his prime. Like, he still might have something that he could take out of it. I mean, look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady has been in this for so many seasons. Everybody thought he was going to retire, but no, he went to the Buccaneers. So I think that if Cam were to go anywhere, I think he could benefit from going to the Raiders, because the Raiders have started out to like really pick up some players. They're really starting to get there. And Marcus Mariota, he's a great quarterback. He's backup, but he could learn a lot from Cam Newton. And I think that Cam could bring a lot of like difference to this team, because they need the defense, they need the offense. So if he were to go to the Raiders, he could truly help pick them up where they're at their lowest.
See, I agree with that. Marcus Mariota could learn a lot from Cam Newton. They're both the same style quarterback, mobile quarterbacks. But I feel like, why not Jacksonville? Jacksonville has been, besides the 2015 season, I believe it was, what happened to them? Nobody really knows. Right now they have Gardner Minshew. And obviously they're riding pretty high on Gardner Minshew since they haven't touched the quarterback room at all this offseason. But Minshew last season played 14 games. He had 3,271 yards and 21 touchdowns. Very similar to Cam Newton's 2018 season. Cam Newton had 3,395 yards, 24 touchdowns in the same amount of 14 games played. But if you were to sign Cam Newton as a backup, because personally, I do think Cam Newton is a starting quarterback in this league, but he won't sign as a backup, and he's already said it. I look at people like I believe Corey mentioned Ryan Tannehill, and not only that, I look at Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater was drafted by the Vikings out of Louisville, and he led them to the playoffs. I believe 2 seasons. He got hurt. His career was kind of derailed. He went to New Orleans, came in a few games for Drew Brees, and he essentially took Cam Newton's job as starter in Carolina. So what's wrong with going to Jacksonville? Jacksonville is a team that does need help. And let's say he does not play because Gardner Minshew stays healthy and he's productive. He can mentor Minshew, and if he acts right and he does not act as a distraction, his name is in good standing for other teams to pick him up if he does sign like a 1 year. Another option, though I do not believe it will happen, is the Redskins. So Ron Rivera, old Carolina coach, has went to Washington, and they haven't ruled him out. He has said himself that they haven't thrown that decision out, but it's not a guarantee. Now, they did already bring Kyle Allen, who's going to back up Dwayne Haskins, but Dwayne Haskins, based off last season and based off what's been said publicly, Haskins and Rivera might not be the right combination for this upcoming season. Therefore, we all had good options, I believe. I see Jacksonville as a good fit. I could think a Teddy Bridgewater story would be perfect for him. Why not?
Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode. You can watch all of our past episodes and game highlight packages on our YouTube channel. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at CSUF Time Sports, and make sure to like us on Facebook to stay connected with us. On behalf of everyone here and all of us here at Time Sports, I'm Kimberly Cruz. Remember to keep those tusks up, Titans. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.